Now, I just wanted to answer this kind of quickly. Of course, I can be able to get a little bit deeper into all these things, but I'm just going to kind of answer these things quickly because I do think that there is this big question that's being asked now that needs to be answered, and it needs to be answered in a way that's not only talking about a religious answer to it, that's not only talking about a faith answer to it, because obviously not everybody in this country is a Christian, and not everybody in this country has any faith at all. Like some people don't believe in any of like they don't believe in any higher power, and so we can't put people to those standards and then expect everybody to view things that way. So I'm just going to talk about this. I'm going to talk down the line, and I maybe talk a little bit quickly. If there's anything that I say that you're not clear about or don't understand, you can of course talk to me in the comments below. But the question that I want to be able to answer today is, should abortion be legal? And I'm going to go ahead and answer how I think I would answer, and it's no, I don't think abortion should be legal. Now, a lot of people say, well, it's a woman's right to choose. It's a woman's right to choose what they get to do with their own body. And I do agree with that. I do agree that women get the choice to choose what they got to do with their own body. Like they can choose ultimately what they want to do. If they want to do this, if they want to do that, like they can be able to make that happen, right? But here's my issue. My issue is not what women get to choose to do with their own bodies. It's when now another life is in play. Because here's the thing, okay? Whether we like it or not, it's about 5 to 6 weeks where a fetus's lungs and heart starts to grow, right? That's when they're starting to develop. That's when it's starting to become something. And I think it's about 7 or 8 weeks where you start to be able to hear that heartbeat, where that heartbeat is now heard. It is a heartbeat that is separate from the woman, okay? And so I don't believe that murder is okay, right? And I think that most people would agree that murder is wrong, right? And murder is the purposeful taking of another human life without a reason of like self-defense or anything like that. And I do believe that once people start doing that, and once people say that once we say that murder is wrong, that can give us a kind of idea as to what we believe is wrong about taking another human life. Now, what people would say is that fetus is not a human. And the thing is, first of all, fetus, the word fetus is literally a Latin word that basically just means offspring. It just means baby. So to say that, oh, it's a fetus, it's not a human being, is like, that's not even something that we can be able to that's not, we're not being honest. You know, we're not being honest by saying that that's not a human being. If I was to start growing a garden or whatever, and I put a seed into the ground, I started watering it, and as that seed is germinating, if somebody pulled that out of the ground before it's able to fully mature and make the fruit that it's supposed to, make the vegetable it's supposed to, if they did that, I would say that you killed the plant. I would not say that you killed the seed. I would not say that you got rid of the seed and that it wasn't anything. No, because now that it's starting to germinate, now that it's starting to grow, now that it's starting to mature, it has become what it is becoming. And so we would say, oh, that is a plant now. We would say that is a plant versus, oh, that's a seed that you bought from the store. And so that is the difference that we see there. And so when I talk about a baby, even though you may say, oh, it's a fetus, it is going to grow into a full moving baby. And so I think that once it has that heartbeat, once it has that lungs, once it has that capacity, we cannot fully say, okay, this is just the mother's life. And so if we say that murder is wrong, and we say that murder is the taking of a human life that without the meaning of self-defense or whatever else, then we can be able to say that, wow, abortion should not be something that should be legal. And some people may say, well, then who should we charge for it? And I think we should charge the person that's doing the surgery, because the people that are doing these procedures, they know what they're doing. They went to school, they went to be able to become a doctor, and they're still choosing to do these things. And they're still choosing to make these things happen. And they're sometimes lying to these women, a lot of the times lying to these women, and making them feel like what's inside of them is a parasite, or what's inside of them is not something that is human. And I don't think that that's fair. And I don't think it's fair to charge the woman for it, because a lot of the times the women are not fully understanding of it. Because I truly believe that most sane women, if they knew what they were doing, they wouldn't take that life. But they've been caused to believe that that is not actually a human life. Now, the other argument I make here is that, hey, well, if we make it legal, then people will do it safely, because people were always doing abortions even before it was legal. But now we can at least do it safely. But here's the thing. I don't think it's ever safe to take somebody's human life. And I don't think that it takes away all the risk of those procedures, because those procedures are always going to be risky. Not only, of course, for the child that is being born, that is being taken out, but it's also going to be risky for the woman herself. And I don't believe that it solves the problem to say, oh, we're going to make something legal. Look, there's a whole lot of things that are illegal, and people still do it anyway, right? But that doesn't make the wrong thing right just because a lot of people do it. You know, we always heard that growing up, right? We always heard that just because somebody does something doesn't mean that you need to do it. We hear it from our parents all the time. It's the same thing that's true when it comes to things like this, when it comes to things like abortion. Now, the next thing that people may ask is, well, but what about in a case where somebody had things forced on them, like where they were forcibly conceiving a child because somebody did something very evil and they assaulted this person, and this is how it happened. And here's my honest view of that, okay? And now this is something that like is very serious, and this happens in people's lives. I know people who have been assaulted before. Like I know that this is a real serious thing, and I don't want anybody to think that I'm ever going to downplay that serious thing, okay? But I want us to ask ourselves an honest question. Does us taking another human life, does that take away the evil thing that has been done? Does that make the evil thing that has been done less traumatic? And I don't think it does either of those things. I don't think it solves the problem. I think that even if they carry the baby to full term or whatever, and they say, okay, we're going to carry this baby to full term, and we're going to have this baby, I don't think that it's going to, I don't think that, like some people say, well, then you're going to have to look at the baby that was created by this evil person. Yes, but also we can be wrapped with guilt for getting rid of a human life. There are so many people that I know. Well, so many people that I don't personally know these people, but so many stories that I've heard of people who right after they took that human life, right after they had that abortion, they really regretted it because they started to recognize that that baby was a real baby, that all of those things that were forming inside of them was a child. And they felt really bad about it, but it's already done. And once something's already done, there's nothing you can do about it. And so I don't think that it takes away the shame. I don't think it takes away the trauma that is caused by this act. I do think the act is evil, and I do think the person who did the act should be put in jail for a very long time. I do believe all of those things, but I don't believe that this is going to be the thing that does the justice. I don't think that taking another human life is going to be the thing that does the justice. Then the last thing is, well, what if the mother's life is at risk? And if the mother's life is at risk, I think it's very simple. I think that it's starting to become more than just one life being involved in it. And so if there is a chance to be able to save one human life, then I do think it should be the mother's choice to say, hey, I'm either going to save my life or I'm going to save my child's life. And I do think that they should have that choice there. But I think that's the only scenario where that choice should be active. And I think that when we look at the vast majority of abortions, I don't remember the exact statistic, but they said the majority of the pregnancies that people have, and most of the times when they're delivering the babies, they don't have to be able to get rid of one human life in order to save the other. Majority of the time, they can be able to save both lives. You know, like there are those rare cases where you can be able to take one life and save the other. But most of the times, they can be able to save both. And so, but if it is a case where it's the mom or the kid, I do think that there should be that option where they get to choose, hey, I either want to let this kid live with their dad, or I want to let the just the mom live or whatever. I think that that is a choice that should be able to happen. And so then the last question is, with all of these things, how are we going to solve these problems? How are we going to, if there are all these unwanted babies out there, how do we solve the issue, right? And Honestly, I would have to do a whole nother video about that, but there are so many resources that people can be able to use, that maybe if they don't want the baby, maybe if they just don't know if they can be able to afford the baby or whatever else, like, there are so many options out there that can be able to protect the woman's life and be able to protect the child's life, because I do think that all lives matter to God. I do think that every single person matters. And I don't think that there's any single person that is on this earth that God didn't send his son for. I truly believe that. But I truly believe that if we're going to look at what we're doing in this country, what we're doing in this country should be to uphold justice and should be to do the right thing. Yes, there are freedoms here. Yes, there are things that we can choose, but there are some things that we have agreed upon that is off limits. And we say that everybody should have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And I believe that that even goes to a child in the womb. They should have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And when we end their life early, as they're still being developed, we are taking away that right from them. And I think that's what America was built upon, was those rights. And so I think that if we're going to go into a better place as America, if we're going to go to a better place as a country, we need to make this illegal. We don't need to be able to make all these concessions for it and say, well, here's a reason why this can happen. Here's a reason why this can't happen. I don't think there is a reason why it should happen. And I don't think that this is just a partisan thing, because now we're seeing a whole lot of Republicans kind of steer back, and we're seeing Democrats say this. It's like say even worse things, say even crazier things. I don't think either way. I don't think either party is doing a perfect job of upholding what I think is one of the most important things that we're ever going to vote on. One of the most important things that we can ever do, which is to keep innocent lives safe. And I think that there are so many ways we can do that. But I think one of the ways is by making abortion illegal.